சத்தம் ரொம்ப எதுவும் கேக்குதா பேக்ரவுண்ட்ல எதுவும்
கிளியரா இருக்கு.
கிளியரா இருக்குயா? ஃபேன் போட்டிருக்கேன் அதனால தான் கேட்டேன். ஃபேன் ஆஃப் பண்ணா பண்ணிருக்கேன். கிளியரா இருக்கு.
வேண்டாம் வேண்டாம் வேண்டாம், நீட்டா இருக்கு.
ஓகே.
இப்ப கூகுள் தான் தெரியுது.
இப்ப தெரியலையா?
இப்ப கூகுள் இப்பதான் சாஸ்திரா தெரியுதா?
சாஸ்திரா தான் தெரியணும்.
வாய்ஸ் எப்படி பண்றது? மூஞ்சி தெரியுமா? நீங்க மூஞ்சி தெரியுமா அதை அழுத்தணும்.
மத்த எல்லாருமே மூட் பண்ண சொல்லிடு சர்மா. எல்லாரும் மூட் பண்ணுங்க. எல்லாரும் மூட் பண்ணிடுங்க. வீடியோ இது பண்ணிடுங்க. என்ன பேண்ட்வித் பத்தாது. வீடியோ
ஓகே ஓகே.
ஒன்லி நான் பிரசன்ட் பண்றேன். நான் மட்டும் தான் வீடியோலயே இருப்பேன், ஆடியோலயே இருப்பேன்.
மியூட் பண்றேங்க.
மூட் பண்ணிடுங்க அவ்வளவுதான்.
5 பேர் வந்திருக்காங்க. இன்னொரு 20 பேர் வந்தா ஸ்டார்ட் பண்ணிடலாம்.
ஓகே ஓகே.
எப்படி சார் வாங்க சார்.
Okay, the time is 3.
ஆரம்பிச்சலாமா?
ஆரம்பிச்சிடு.
இது அப்புறம் நான் இன்ட்ரோ듀ஸ் பண்ணிடுறேன். கேக்குதா?
Clear.
Good evening to everyone present here. On behalf of Saraswati College of Engineering, on behalf of Shastra University, on behalf of AICT Margadarshan Scheme, I welcome you, Dr. K. Ramkumar, for the webinar presentation. A small introduction about Dr. Ramkumar. Dr. Ramkumar has obtained his BTech degree from Madurai Kamarajar University and MTech from REC Tiruchi and PhD from Shastra University. He has completed 3 PhD guideships for students. Currently, 2% doing his PhD under his guidance. He has visited Kannada University as a visiting professor. He is the Best Teacher Award for Wipro Mission 10X. With this small background, I welcome you, Dr. Ramkumar. On behalf of Saraswati College of Engineering, Dr. Ramadas Anil Educational Trust, and Shastra University, I once again welcome you. On behalf of the entire team, I hand over the mic to you. You now start the proceeding.
Yeah, thank you, Dr. Madhava Sharma. I thank the management of Shastra University for providing me this opportunity to present before you all. Okay, so this topic is more relevant for the contemporary scenario. In fact, artificial intelligence. It's a happening domain. In fact, I'm requesting all the members to mute their audio in their end. Okay, please do that. Okay, so artificial intelligence is a happening domain. In fact, what you are looking for is you are trying to create machines. Okay, these machines basically they need to take some intelligent decisions. So we are all in the COVID times now. So most of the top industries now they are eyeing for these kind of machines which can work independently of human beings. Okay, it's more like an autonomy. Machines which can work autonomously. So autonomy is the key there. Autonomy means what? So when the machines receive some inputs without human intervention, the machine should be in a position to take some intelligent decisions. So we want to create machines like that. So we have human intelligence. So we have human intelligence. Our brain can process a lot of data and it can help us in taking some decisions. Likewise, we are interested in creating a machines which can receive some data and can take some decisions without the intervention of human beings. It's more like automation, all automation technology, wherein human beings are not being involved. When human beings are not being involved, then we are calling that kind of automation technology also as some level of AI. Okay, so AI technology is closely coupled with automation technology nowadays, because almost all automation technologies nowadays, what we are seeing is without human intervention, the machines are taking some intelligent decisions. So that's a basic idea. So with that in mind, let us now proceed and try to understand how we can employ artificial intelligence for creating technologies related to robots. Okay, robots is what our focus. So I have done some research related to robots. Okay, I've done a work for DRDO. So naturally, I'm interested in applying artificial intelligence techniques for robotic technology. Okay, so I think I'm hearing some noise, Sharma. I think ask them to mute that.
மைக்க மியூட் பண்ணிக்கோங்க. மைக்க மியூட் பண்ணிக்கோங்க.
எல்லாரும் மைக்க மியூட் பண்ணுங்க. இன்ஃபேக்ட் நான் பேசும்போது நீங்க பேசுனீங்க நல்லா இருக்காது. So I'm expecting every one of you to mute in your end. Okay, mic mute பண்ணிடுங்க. Okay, so now let us now look at this. So the first thing that I would like to ask you to think about is, look at this. Some kind of a noise I'm hearing in Chennai. So look at this. So there is a bee here. Okay, so there is a bee. It's taking. This bee is a highly intelligent bee. Okay, so we are interested in mimicking this kind of animal behaviors in order to create robots like this. Okay, so basically the intelligence part comes by mimicking animal behaviors. Okay, so is it possible to mimic this kind of behaviors? So that's the question before us. So all intelligent machines, they try to emulate human beings or some animals. Human beings or some animals. For example, you might have heard of technologies like ants colony algorithm. Okay, on ants colony or particle swarm algorithms. Okay, all these technologies, in fact, we are interested in mimicking the animal behaviors. Okay, we are interested in mimicking animal behavior. So that's what, in fact. So the question before is it possible to do this kind of a job? Okay, so now I would like to show you a video, small video. Look at this video. Berkeley University, they have created a dog-like robot. Okay, look at this robot. If you look at this robot, it's not an easy thing to develop this kind of a robot. The robot is equipped with all kinds of sensors, first of all. Okay, the robot is equipped with sensors, particularly vision sensors. And the technology that is involved here, look at the kind of arm movement, the degrees of freedom. Okay, the degrees of freedom in the sense, the arm movement, and the flexibility with which the robot moves. Flexibility. Okay. Based on, so you can see there are a lot of hardware elements involved in this movement. Okay, there are link-like mechanical arrangements, mechanical mechanisms are there. So a thorough understanding about the dynamics of this kind of systems is quite complex. What is dynamics? Dynamics is if you want to study the behavior of this kind of a robot, you need to mathematically model all this. Okay, so there are mechanical elements involved, there are electrical elements involved. Okay, there are electronic components involved. There are vision sensors, cameras involved here. You can see here he is projecting the camera there. So there is a camera here at the rear end, and at the front end there is a camera, and you can also see a lot of what do you call other mechanical mechanisms. Okay, so the leg movement. So everything has to be programmed in the form of in a computer. Okay, you need to write appropriate algorithms for the robot to obey your commands. So it's quite interesting to see how the robot's maneuvers, like a human hand. This robot can move its hand, and it can move its legs, and it can move its the entire body. Okay, so here you can see the arm movement. They call it as the end effectors. End effector means the robot is going to interact with the environment using this particular part. Okay, so these are all something you need to imagine the kind of a complexity involved in it. All this has to be visualized. Okay, so now let us move ahead. So look at this kind of a robot. So this is another kind of a robot. It's a bird-like robot. So it is basically a drone. It is. The drone is something, a flying robot. The complexity involved, again, the technological complexity involved in building this kind of a robot is not so easy. There are a lot of interdisciplinary domains involved in it. Okay, interdisciplinary in the sense people from electronics, engineers, computer science, mechanical, okay, mathematicians. All these people are involved in developing this kind of technology. Okay, so it's quite an interesting kind of a problem. It is. So the control part, particularly the controlling this kind of a robot, is a highly challenging job. It's a highly challenging job, particularly stabilizing this. Stability of this robot is quite important. Okay, so think about that. So look at this kind of a robot here. This is a strawberry picking robot. Okay, if you look at this robot, the robot can pick strawberries. Here, you can just projecting it to you. Look at this is called end effector. End effector. End effector means the portion which interacts with the environment. So this is the portion. This is the portion I'm talking about. This portion is what it is interacting with the environment. I'm expecting Malati madam to mute. Mute in your end, please. Some noise I'm hearing. Yeah. So the end effectors needs to interact with the environment. Okay. So that's how it works. So here, if you look at this kind of an AI impact, so the scientists are in fact predicting, okay, throughout the world, scientists are predicting there will be a huge impact of these AI technologies over the economic, cultural, social, and all other domains. It's going to have a huge disruption. Okay, so the technology, understanding this technology and mastering this technology will definitely help all the members who are involved. In fact, the engineering college faculty members who are working in this domain, you have a bright future ahead. Okay, so if you are going to work out, understand, and master this kind of technology, you will be wanted everywhere, and you can take classes for others as well as you can do research in this domain. So I am expecting few faculty members of this group to take up this kind of research challenges and try to work on this domain to come up with some good results. Okay, particularly the rise of the robots has been predicted heavily by, in fact, Martin Ford wrote a book called Rise of the Robots. The rise of these robots is going to have a huge impact over society in the near future. Okay, and society has to be ready to face these kind of tech challenges. So we need to prepare our students. The faculty members has to be equipped with this kind of knowledge in order to face these kind of challenges involved in this technological domain. Okay, so the outline of my presentation is more like this. I'm going to talk about the intelligent agents. I briefly introduce you to the topic of robots, and one algorithm which I'm quite interested in is the Kalman filter algorithm, which I'll be showing to you a kind of a demo. And then I'll be talking to you about the mobile robot localization issues, and finally a brief introduction to machine learning part. Okay, so these are all the topics I'll be covering in this particular presentation. So if you look at intelligent agents, so what is AI? So it is the science and engineering. Okay, if you look at this, it's the science and engineering of making intelligent machines, especially intelligent computer programs. Okay, so that's the definition for AI. So intelligence is basically is a computational part of the ability to achieve goals in the world. Varying kinds and degrees of intelligence occur in people, in many animals, and some machines. The foundation of AI, if you look at, it's a combination of so many domains, including computer science engineering. Okay, philosophical aspects are also involved, and rules, particularly the rules of reasoning. Okay, they are heavily employed. And then you have domains like mathematics, and you have domains like uh, biology is involved, psychology, cognitive science, linguistic, okay, economics, all these are connected. Okay, so particularly electronics and electrical engineering, mechanical engineering, they are also involved in this work. So apart from these core engineering branches, other domains, interdisciplinary domains like philosophy, biology, linguistics are also been involved. So that's why, in fact, the government of India is nowadays emphasizing on for building this kind of technology. They are emphasizing on multidisciplinary knowledge. Okay, so it's essential for in the national educational program. Recently, they have drafted na national education program wherein they talk about multidisciplinary knowledge. Okay, so in order to be ready for these future technologies to be implemented in the real world, multidisciplinary knowledge is essential. So that's important. Okay, so keep it in mind. So what can AI systems can do? They can work on computer vision. AI systems, they play an important role in computer vision. You might have heard of autonomous cars and all. Okay, autonomous cars. For autonomous cars, computer vision is a key technology. Okay, they employ a camera. The cars, they employ a camera, and this provide a vision for the system. And you need to process a lot of this data using modern day algorithms, particularly image processing algorithms are heavily employed. So artificial intelligence play an important role in enhancing the quality of these images as well as feature engineering. Okay, so you need to capture certain features from the images. How do you do that? So you require computer vision based technology. So you have robotics domain, particularly robotics for automation purpose heavily employed. Okay, many of the top industries now they are working with industrial robots, as well as you might have heard of warehouse management. Okay, major warehouses like Walmart, all big what do you call online shoppings, and all those companies now, Flipkart, Amazon, all these companies, in order to maintain their warehouses, they employ this kind of mobile robots. Okay, they employ mobile robots to maintain the corresponding their stocks. Okay, so natural language processing is another domain really picking up, wherein artificial intelligence they are playing an important role, and expert systems, particularly for medical diagnosis applications, another area. Spoken language, you might have heard about Alexa and all. Okay, this is in fact in cars nowadays they are using. So just give your you order your product through Alexa, you get it in the house. Okay, so all kinds of you can interact with machines through natural language. You can talk to the machines nowadays. So spoken language systems is another area wherein artificial intelligence is playing an important role. Planning and scheduling operations, learning, user modeling, games, and all these other domains, AI is heavily being employed. So what is an intelligent agent? An agent is an entity that perceives and acts. Okay, an agent normally interacts with the environment, and it perceives the environment, and it acts based on the perception. For example, a robot can see the world, a mobile robot can see the world, okay, with the help of a camera. With the help of a camera, it can see the world, and then based on the perception, based on the camera-based perception, if it sees any obstacle, okay, somebody is coming, the robot will change its course of direction and it can move in a different way. So this is called an obstacle avoidance algorithm. Okay, an obstacle avoidance. The robot has to navigate in a crowded environment. Okay, the navigation is an important problem in mobile robots, and the robot can do that with the help of perception. So that's what it means. Agent is an entity that perceives and acts. Okay, so if you look at the different kinds of perception, You have simple reflex agents, agents with memory, agents with goals, utility-based agents. All these are there. Okay. So what is simple reflex agents? Simple reflex agents, you can say they are rule-based reasoning to map from percepts to optimal action. Okay. So basically, simple reflex agent, you can think something like this. Very simple example I'm telling. These agents will react to stimuli. As soon as it receives an external stimuli, it acts. That's all. It will not remember anything. These agents will not remember anything. For example, students who are doing third semester, before examination they study. See, only when there is a stimuli, examination, fear, they will sit and study. So that's more like a reflex agent. But the same student, when he is going for fourth semester, okay, with the past experience, he may plan his studies. Okay, based on his past not so good experience, he may plan. Okay, that is more like an agent with states. Okay, reflex agent with states. Now this agent is now thinking of memory. Okay, these goal-based agents, they think of memory. Reflex agents, they think about the memory. They have memory. Based on the memory, they can now plan their activities. So there is a difference between a simple reflex agent and a reflex agent with states. So what my actions do, how the world evolves, these two are the key. How the world evolves means what is my past action, the memory. Based on the memory, if the robot or the machine is going to decide something, then you can say it's a reflex agent with states. And the next one is much more powerful. It's a goal-based agent. The same student, when he is doing fourth semester, he'll be thinking of his seventh semester placements. So if he is planning for that, so I would like to place in an electronics company. If he is thinking about that, then he is goal-based. So he is thinking far ahead, and based on that, he is planning his present semester studies. He may be concentrating more on electronic studies. So this is a much more powerful, intelligent agent. Okay, the robot, not only the robot may be right now here, it is planning for its navigation purpose, it's planning its path. It may be planning not only immediate future, it may be planning for long term ahead also. In after 2 hours, where I will be. Based on that, it will decide the present action. So if the robot is going to do that, then you are equipping the robot with much better intelligence. Okay, that's very powerful. Okay, so that's where the AI comes, the goal-based agents. So utility-based agents, not only it will be thinking of goals, it will also be thinking of the cost factor involved. Okay, I may be deciding so many course of actions. Okay, out of all these course of action, which one will give me the least cost? Okay, so I'm not willing to spend more money, more energy. So in that case, I have this amount of battery storage. So what I can do, how I can optimize my actions. So that's a very powerful idea. So the highest form of intelligent agent is the utility-based agent, wherein cost factors, they play an important role. Okay, multiple alternatives are there. When the multiple alternatives, how to decide which one is the best? So basically, optimization comes into picture here. So utility agents are like this. So if you look at the robot, any artificial, a robot can be an artificial agent whose environment is a physical world. Okay, it's a robot, it's a programmable, multifunction manipulator designed to move materials, parts, tools, or specific devices through variable programmed motions for the performance of a variety of tasks. That's the definition for robot. So what are you understanding from it? It's an active artificial agent whose environment is a physical world. Okay, it's a programmable one. It is having multi-function manipulator and is designed to move material, parts, tools, and all. Okay, so that's the basic idea. So now if you look at any robot, a robot will have, as we have seen in the dog kind of a robot, the Berkeley robot, there are mechanical units involved. There are sensing units like the image sensors or the camera, and there are actuation units, some mechanical links or end effectors, like the hand of that robot, okay, that arm of that robot. In fact, you might have seen that arm, like this. there is a kind of an end effector, and this kind of an arm movements are there. There are joints like this, and these joints you normally operate using motors. The motors, they play an important role when it comes to actuations. Okay, so supervision units are there. You need to write algorithms. Okay, so program of task and supervision are important, and the robot can take corrective actions on the working environment, and they can pick and place an object, they can weld, okay, they can tighten a bolt and nut, okay, they can do all kinds of operation, they can paint a car, okay, they can do all kinds of operation in an industrial environment, okay, they can enter a very hazardous environment. For example, a robot employed for checking the boiler. A boiler is very hot, you know that. You cannot, human beings cannot go very near to it. But a robot can go near and they can inspect the boiler. Okay, so all these are feasible with the help of robots. So the robots' basic human components are more like this. So industrial, very standard Puma robot will look like this. Okay, these are all the joints. I think you can see clearly the joints. These are all the joints, and these joints can rotate. Okay, so it can go up and down. Okay, you need to employ a motor here. Okay, these are all the joints. This one, this part, they call it as the link. So you can clearly see, you can see my arm here. This joint, you call it as my the motor. In fact, this bone we have now, this elbow bone, you'll be replacing it with motors. So naturally, I can move my arm like this. I can go and pick up something. Okay, look at my hand. My fingers, I can go and pick something. Okay, so the similar kind of a robot it is. So you require mechanical components as well as motors. So it is an industrial robot manipulator with 6 degrees of freedom, and each motor is provided with some kind of 500 to 1000 count 3-channel encoder. Okay, there's a 3-channel encoder and a potentiometer for it. Okay, so there are key the technology behind robots. You call it as direct and inverse kinematics. So in the case of direct kinematics, what you do is, so look at my arm. Okay, if my end effector position is known, then what are all the angles I require to reach that end final position? If I'm going to study that, then I call that one as inverse kinematics. Knowing the end effector position, okay, knowing this position. For example, I would like to go and pluck some fruit in the tree. Okay, this is a tree, imagine. This is a tree. I would like to go and pluck that fruit. So I know this position. So what are all the angles I require to go and reach that point? That you call it as the inverse kinematics. And then if the angles are provided, okay, the angles are provided for all the joints, then what is the end effector position? How do you compute that? What is the end effector position? That you call it as the direct kinematics. So the joint angles are given, and you want to compute the end effector position. Then that is direct kinematics. And the inverse kinematics is you need to compute the joint angle for the given end effector position. End effector, what I really mean is the fingers. I'm talking about my hand fingers, where it is located. Okay, in order to perform some operation, it may be welding, or it may be spraying some paint, or it may be any kind of an operation. Okay, you can think of with the help of robot, you can achieve that. So in order to control, so the motor has to be maintained at some angles. How do you maintain the motor angle? You require PID controllers. Okay, the actuator is a motor, and you can adjust the armature current of the motor with the help of a controller in order to rotate the motor to reach a particular angle. Okay. Okay, you will be reaching a particular angle. So that's the key point. So then with the help of a sensor, you'll be measuring the position, and you'll be taking corrective control action for the given angle. Okay, so that's the basic PID control loop diagram. So the actuator is a motor, you measure the position, and then with the help of some encoders, you can do that, and that is given to a set point. The set point will be compared. Okay, that normally the PID controllers will be the code will be written in a microcontroller or a microprocessor. So naturally, you'll be giving the set point. For example, I want 30-degree position, and the present angle is 20 degree. So 10 degree is the error. Then the 10 degree has to be adjusted. How do you adjust? By adjusting the armature current. You can vary the motor speed, and thereby you can get the required position. It may be a stepper motor, for example. stepper motor position can be adjusted and you can get your required position. Okay, so that's how normally you'll be controlling the joint motion. So what is Kalman filters? In fact, I would like to show you a diagram. In fact, look at this. I am interested in a robot which can, I would like to keep the robot. I would like to know where exactly the robot is in the present position. What is the present position of the robot? That's the question before me. How can I do that? How can I achieve this? Because the robot is blind. So we equip the robot with sensors. Equip the robot with sensors. But the problem is all these sensors are prone to errors. It may be camera or it may be laser rangefinder. Okay, the robot sees the environment with the help of these kind of sensors, and initially it will assume somewhere it is. Okay, I am in the position some X. The robot can assume that with the help of the perception, with the help of the sensors. Now the robot starts moving. Now the problem is, if there is some initial error in the sensing data, what happens? The initial sensing error that will be accumulated over a period of time. So over a period of time, the robot may lose its track and it will go somewhere. The intended per road is like this, but it may go somewhere primarily because the error starts integrating. Integrating in the sense summed. It gets summed up, error. So you need to somehow correct this. That's where the robot localization problem comes. Localization means what? The robot has to localize itself in terms of the environment. In terms of environment. How it can be achieved? Using, you have the path given to it. The actuator commands are given to the wheels. And you are sensing the environment. The robot is sensing the environment with the help of a perception. And you need to travel in a particular map. Okay. So the map building is also key there. So you are given the map, you are perceiving the environment, and then you are taking some path planning algorithm and you are traveling in that path. Now the error starts accumulating, and over a period of time, you will lose track of your path. So in that case, how you can rectify it? So that's where the idea of this idea comes. The robot Kalman filter in fact comes. Kalman filter, they call it, is a very powerful AI-based algorithm in order to work with uncertain data. So there are three key steps involved in this algorithm. The first one, the robot sees the world. Okay, for example, look at this x-axis. The x-axis is the location of the robot. Okay, so on the y-axis, I have written something called P of x. This P of x is nothing but the probability. The probability of being in the x location. Okay, now the robot sees the world. What it is observing? It's observing a pillar. Given a node map to the robot, initially the robot will assume that it can be anywhere near to this pillar, pillar 1, or this pillar, pillar 2, or this pillar, pillar 3. So what is your expectation? The robot will give equal probability of being in this location near to this pillar or this pillar or this pillar. That's the basic idea. So it is seeing the world. Okay, with the help of this, can you see it now? The pillar, the probability has now increased. The probability of being near to the first pillar is high, second pillar is high, the third pillar is high. Primarily because the robot sees a pillar and the map is already given to it. The map is there. So based on the map, based on the perception, the robot is now believing that it is somewhere near to either this pillar or this pillar or this pillar. But I don't want this because it leads to confusion. The robot has to know exactly where it is. It should not predict. It should not assume. Okay, it should not assume that it is somewhere near to this pillar or this pillar or this pillar. It leads to confusion. So how do I correct that? So initially, in fact, the robot sees a word, and then the robot will have one more information with the help of a mathematical model. So this is called model-based prediction. Okay. So now the robot is now seeing the word, it's now taking a corrective action, and it is now moving. Once it moves, again it sees what? Again it sees a pillar. But the key point that we have to understand here is, near to this pillar there is no other pillar, and near to this pillar there is no other pillar. So if the robot could have traveled from this point initially, it could not have seen any pillar here. Likewise, if the robot could have traveled from this point, it could not have seen any pillar after taking a corrective control action. It's called acting in the environment. Once it acts, again if it sees a pillar, immediately the robot can correct itself. It's called observation. The robot is now observing the world, and it is seeing a new pillar. Definitely there is no other pillar near to this pillar or this pillar. Only with respect to this pillar, there is a one pillar near to it. After taking corrective action, it can see. So this is a slight level of intelligence. Can you see the intelligence here? The decision making now is going to get improved based on this new data. So this is, they call it as, in probabilistic term, they call it as Bayesian estimation. The Kalman filter comes under a domain called Bayesian estimation algorithm. Bayesian estimation, basically, it talks about, with the help of a model, it predicts something initially, and it takes some corrective action based on new observation. Now the robot is going to correct itself. How it's going to correct? See the next slide. Now it is seeing, see the probability has now moved. But the problem is, now it is seeing this pillar. Immediately after seeing this pillar, you can immediately see the probability of being in this location now has peaked. This too has come down. Okay, and definitely this has increased. So it is primarily because the belief is being updated based on the new information that you have used. This is a very powerful idea when it comes to robotics. Okay, this if you look at the robotics research domain, just type in Google Bayesian estimators. They employ this kind of idea, okay, based on models you predict, and then based on new observation, you correct that prediction. Okay, it's a very powerful idea. Okay, so what is the idea basically? You have a mathematical model, you try to predict your next location, and then you observe the environment, you correct your initial prediction using your new observation. So this is called Bayesian estimation. So, and the belief factor has definitely improved. The probability of being in a particular location has definitely improved. So this is a very powerful idea. So in fact, we worked on this kind of algorithms for some mobile robot localization problems. Okay, and you can see here the belief update very clearly. Initially, there is a belief, robot's belief before observation, probability of making this observation, and the robot's belief is getting updated, and the green one is a much bigger one. See here, the belief has increased. Okay, the robot state, yeah.
மீட்டிங் டைம் முடிய போட்டு எக்ஸ்டெண்ட் பண்ண கேக்குறாங்க. அப்படியே கொஞ்சம் ஒரு நிமிஷம் எல்லாரையும் வைண்ட் அப் பண்ணாத திருப்பி லாகின் பண்ணிக்க சொல்லிடுவோம்.
Okay.
அப்படியே அனௌன்ஸ் பண்ணிடு.
Okay, you can log in again because I think less than 1 minute is there. You can log in again.